Hi, we are moving on to question number 10 on test 1, section 3 of the official SAT study guide. So this one deals with functions. Let's take a look at the problem first. And this is often, functions are one of those things that often students have a difficult time with, and they aren't as hard as they seem, right? So when we look at this, we see g of x equals ax squared plus 24. For the function g defined above, a is a constant and g of 4 equals 8. What is the value of g of negative 4? Again, as with most of these problems, there are two ways to go about this. One is you can solve the function and you can figure out what a equals. So remember, what's inside the parentheses is your x value. What it equals is your y value, or your g of x value. So if we wanted to solve this function for a, what we would do is we would say we're starting with g of x equals a x squared plus 24. This is our function. And what they tell us is g of 4 equals 8. So this, what's inside my parentheses, is my x. This is my y, or my g of x. Same thing. So again, we're thinking about substitution. So g of x is my y value, 8. So where I see g of x, I plug in 8. A, we don't know yet. X is what's in the parentheses. So where I see an x, I'm going to plug in this 4. Okay, so 8 equals 4 squared, 16, a plus 24. And now I'm just solving for a. And I'm left with negative 16 equals 16a. Divide by 16. A equals negative 1. Now here's where they tried to trick you. Are we done with the problem? Right now I got a equals negative 1. And a lot of students will just stop there and circle C. But what you want to do is go back and say, what does the question ask me for? The question asked me for g of negative 4. So we are not done. All right, so let's go back to our work. So we have a equals negative 1, right? So we want to know what is g of negative 4. So now we're going to go back to our function here. So g of x, that's what we don't know. We want to know g of negative 4. This is our question. We know now that a equals negative 1. So where I see a, I can plug in negative 1. We also know that the x that we're looking for is negative 4. So I put that in for x. So here I have g of negative 4 equals negative, and make sure you're squaring negative 4. So negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16, but I had times negative 1 out here. So that's where the negative comes in, plus 24. So g of negative 4 equals 8. Now I'm done. Now, what you might be noticing, so that's one way of solving it, right? What you might be noticing is that we started with g of 4 equals 8, and we found out that g of negative 4 also equals 8. So we know that that's the answer. Now, one thing that you could have done, if you had thought about what a parabola looks like. So an x squared graph is a parabola, right? It is symmetrical, if I drew perfectly, about the y-axis, right? And I know, right, if I'm a very savvy math student, that ax squared plus 24 did not move right or left at all. That plus 24 moved it up 24. So if I was looking at what this graph looks like, even if I don't know what a equals, I know that it's symmetrical about this axis. So what that means is I know that 4 and negative 4 would be at the same spot. It doesn't matter whether or not I know what spot that is. Okay, so I would know that g of 4 and g of negative 4 would have to have the same y-coordinate. That's a little bit of a stretch. You have to remember some of your algebra too. But if you do, that's a very shortcut way of solving this problem. Okay, thanks.